The Philadelphia Phillies got the series opening win in Cincinnati against the Reds 4-1 last night on Monday to kick off that three-game series there in Cincinnati. Ranger Suarez is on the mound tonight on Tuesday to try to keep this winning streak going. Welcome into Phillies Daily, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Kennelly. Make sure you guys subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. Now, as the famous Lou Brown of one of my favorite baseball movies once said, what the Phillies are on right now, it's called a winning streak. The Phillies have now won 4 games in a row. In that span of those 4 games, the Phillies are outscoring their opponents 20-6. So the offense has been clicking. The pitching has been very good as of late. 20-6 in this 4-game winning streak, outscoring their opponents, going back to that sweep of the Rangers, and now this first series opening win against the Reds. They've also won 8 of their last 10 games and now have a 6-game lead over the New York Mets for first place in the National League East. The Mets have been on a losing streak, the complete opposite of what the Phillies have been experiencing lately. In fact, the Mets have lost their last 7 games in a row and 11 of their last 12 games, so just a very tough time to be a New York Met and a New York Mets fan. Unfortunate for them, good for the Phillies. They are getting hot at the right time. They're building this lead in the National League East, trying to win their second consecutive National League East Division championship. They obviously won that last year, the Phillies, and then got knocked out early in the National League Division Series at the hands of the New York Mets. Hopefully, that does not happen again this year, and the Phillies have some success in the postseason when that comes around in just a little over a month and a half or so. The Phillies, they weren't really in that ball game for most of it yesterday in that 4-1 win over the Reds. It was a little bit of just no offense, really. So we've seen that happen a lot throughout this 2025 season. But the Phillies, the one good thing about the Phillies, and really it's a great quality for any team in Major League Baseball, really in any sport, is you're never out of a game. You always keep fighting until the end. And that's exactly what this 2025 Phillies team has done and has shown all season long. They are never out of a ball game. They always feel like if they are down, that they can come back. They have the right players to be able to do that. And we saw them do that in that 4-1 come from behind, comeback victory over the Reds to kick off that 3-game series. They had just 3 hits, and of those 3 hits, they were just total, those were all their base runners. They had no walks, no nothing other than those 3 hits. Through the first 7 innings, they were getting shut out 1-0 going into the top of the 8th inning. The Phillies were obviously the road team, so they were up in the top of the 8th inning. Just 3 hits, 3 base runners, no runs through 7 innings. Still, though, close ball game, just 1-0. They weren't out of the ball game, real close. All they needed was to make a little bit of something happen, and they did just that in that 8th inning. Edmundo Sosa, he hit a single, and then Weston Wilson hit an RBI double to tie the game 1-1 there in the 8th inning. Trey Turner, he hit an RBI single as well. Weston Wilson ended up scoring on an error. Trey Turner advanced to third base, I believe it was. Gave the Phillies a 2-1 lead there in the 8th inning after trailing 1-0 for pretty much most of that game. And going into that 8th inning, the Phillies all of a sudden had a 2-1 lead late in the ball game. And then Kyle Schwarber, do you expect anything less at this point from the Schwarbarian himself? Launched another Schwar bomb, 2-run home run for Kyle Schwarber. Gave the Phillies a 4-1 lead. They ultimately won that ball game 4-1. It was Kyle Schwarber's 42nd, count them, 42 home runs in 2025 for the Schwarbarian. He also has 97 RBIs here in 2025. Both of those numbers, the 42 home runs, the 97 RBIs, are both just slightly behind Seattle Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh for the Major League lead in both of those categories. Kyle Schwarber having an incredible season. We all know that. Obviously, contract year, they need to pay him. He wants to be here. They want him here. Just get that deal done. He is amazing all-around player, teammate, community guy, all that stuff. Just get that deal done with Kyle Schwarber. I don't know what else he has to prove. He is one of the top National League MVP candidates here in 2025. So the Phillies definitely need him to stick around here for the remainder or for the next few years here. The Phillies, as I said, really just never feel like they're out of a game. We saw that plenty of comeback wins or come from behind wins, or really just battling and just falling short here in 2025. And as I said, that is a great quality of a team, especially for a team trying to win a World Series championship. Now, the Phillies also didn't necessarily rely on their elite pitching yesterday in that ball game. Taijuan Walker was on the mound. We all know Taijuan Walker has had his struggles throughout his early parts of his Philadelphia Phillies career, but he had a solid start on Monday night in that 4-1 win. I'll get to that in just a moment. But Jordan Romano, he came in the 7th inning. We also all know how bad he's pitched at times throughout this season in his first season with the Phillies. A lot of downs, some ups for Jordan Romano, but a lot of downs, a lot of bad moments for him. But yesterday, in that win, he had a scoreless 7th inning. He also picked up the win because the Phillies ended up scoring when he was the pitcher and all that. So he picked up the win with that scoreless 7th inning. David Robertson, they signed him mid-season. He's finally on the Major League roster. 40-year-old right-handed pitcher, 3rd stint with the Phillies. He made his first appearance with the Phillies in 2025 and his first appearance at the Major League level in 2025. He came in, he threw a scoreless 8th inning after Jordan Romano's scoreless 7th inning. He did allow a hit and a walk. He did record a strikeout, but still no runs for David Robertson in a close ball game there for the Phillies for his first appearance at the Major League level and with the Phillies in 2025. Hopefully, he can build off of that and be a good piece for them at the back end of the bullpen if needed throughout the rest of this regular season and into the postseason. And then Joan Duran, the electric closer the Phillies got from the Minnesota Twins at the trade deadline back in July. He pitched the two games prior against the Rangers, so he wasn't really available there for that save last night in that win over the Reds. He did pick up both of those saves against the Rangers the 2 days prior. So Rob Thompson opted for Orion Kirkering there in the 9th to try to close out that ball game and pick up a save, and he did just that. He threw a 1-2-3 inning in that 9th with a strikeout and picked up the save and the win for the Phillies to kick off that 3-game series on the right foot against the Cincinnati Reds. So a little bit there of the other guys, you could say, with Jordan Romano and David Robertson, and not the traditional closer anymore, Orion Kirkland. Also, obviously, I did say Taijuan Walker was on the mound for the Phillies in that series opener against the Reds yesterday on Monday, and he is going through a little bit of a redemption tour here in 2025. Great bounce back season by the veteran right-hander. He went in that ballgame yesterday. He went 6 innings, allowed 6 hits, 1 walk, just the 1 earned run. He only had 2 strikeouts in those 6 innings, but he kept the Phillies in the game. He wasn't perfect, didn't really do anything to harm them. So Taijuan Walker is continuing to keep the team in ball games for the most part in 2025, and that's really all you could ask for him after those first 2 seasons, especially after that last season in 2024. He is now 4-5 with a 3.39 ERA, and opposing offenses are batting .252 against Taijuan Walker through 25 games in 2025. Of those 25 games, he's had 14 starts, 11 appearances out of the bullpen. He has a 3.31 ERA as a starter this year in 2025 and a 3.71 ERA as a reliever. So all around, just very good stuff out of Taijuan Walker, both as a starter and as a reliever. He's showing his versatility. He's being just a tremendous team player this year, bouncing back and forth from the rotation and the bullpen. And again, you really can't ask for much more from what he's been doing here, especially after all those struggles he went through during his first 2 years of his Phillies career, all the hatred towards him from the Philadelphia Phillies fan base, the media, all that stuff. He's put his nose down. He's been working hard, and he's been getting the job done for the Phillies, and it's great to see. I owe him an apology. I trashed on him a lot in these videos, in my writing that I do for some sites. So good stuff out of Taijuan Walker this year. Obviously, his first season with the Phillies wasn't horrible. Didn't live up to that contract he signed. He had a 4.38 ERA in 31 starts in 2023, but he wasn't used during the Phillies playoff run, which went all the way to the National League Championship Series. A little bit of frustrating stuff both out of him and the team and the fan base there, not being used in the playoffs after signing such a large contract. And then 2024, we all know he had one of the worst pitching seasons in Philadelphia Phillies history. He went 3-7 with a 7.10 ERA. Opposing offense were batting .317 against him in 19 games last year in 2024. Of those 19 games, he had 15 starts, 4 appearances out of the bullpen. Just a horrible season out of Taijuan Walker, but he bounced back in a huge way throughout most of this season in 2025. Still had some bad moments, but overall, as I said, numbers are very good, especially compared to what he had last year. He does have one more season on that 4-year, $72 million contract he signed back before the 2023 season. So hopefully he can find a role, maybe still as a swingman, but hopefully just in the bullpen going into next year with some of these rotation guys coming back with a healthy Aaron Nola. Hopefully Andrew Painter, the top pitching prospect, joining the rotation next year as well. But nonetheless, Taijuan Walker doing great stuff. He really deserves an apology from everybody in the Phillies fan base. I can't really say anybody probably liked him for most of this season or earlier in the season, coming off of that season last year. Everybody wanted him gone, but he is proving why he is, or not necessarily why he got that contract, but why the Phillies took a chance on him and brought in the former All-Star. He's doing well. That's really all I can ask for. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Phillies Daily. I'm your host, Mike Henley. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. Ranger Suarez on the mound tonight, Tuesday, in Game 2 of this 3-game series against the Reds. Hopefully they can increase this win streak to 5 games, and we are talking about another Phillies win in tomorrow's video. Again, thank you guys for watching, and as always, go Phils.